What it do? Yo, man, listen. Today, I'm gonna be explaining how exactly crits work. Yeah, let's get right into the video. So the first things first, the very basic of the subject is, what are crits? So when you have a crit item equipped on a character, the first hit you inflict upon an enemy has a percentage chance to trigger a crit. Crit is short for critical. Depending on the item types and levels, the critical hit will grant you additional damage. Certain items give more damage than others, and the higher level your crit item is, the more crit damage you will inflict. Now, unlike other games, criticals in Tacticus is not a percentage increase, rather it is a static number that you will see in your character screen. Now, how do crits work? When you put your items on a character, you will get a crit chance. For example, on Bellator, I have a legendary bolt gun, and then I have a legendary crit booster. Legendary bolt gun is a 35% crit chance, and the crit booster gives 5% crit chance. So if you look at the bottom of the screen, my character has a 40% chance to inflict a critical strike. And when he does, those critical strikes will trigger an additional 917 damage. However, uh, one thing that is very important to know about crits is Bellator has 6 hits. The way crits work in Tacticus is if your first hit critically strikes, the second hit has the same chance to critically strike. And this keeps going until you fail to critically strike. So I have 6 hits. First hit, I have a 60% chance to not crit. That means the remainder of my hits will not crit. That's why it's called a crit chain. Because if the first one crits, okay, that's cool. The second one has a chance to crit. If the second one crits, now the third one gets a chance. But if the third one fails to crit, fourth, fifth, and sixth ones will not crit. For a crit to register, the previous attack needs to have critically struck. That's important to know. Now, crit items, all characters have access to a crit item. It's just a weapon that does crit, of course. But some characters have access to critical boosters. For example, the Bellator, he has a critical item, a pauldron, and a critical booster. But say a character such as Revas, she has a critical item and then 2 armor boosters, right? So she only gets 35% crit chance, whereas Bellator gets 40. Now, crit booster might not seem like a lot. Like it gives you a little bit of crit damage. It gives you a little bit of crit chance, 5% to be exact at legendary, lower at first ranks. However, it is still better than not having a crit booster. Now, there are certain characters in the game that interact differently with crits. The ones I've chosen to demonstrate in this video are Ragnar Blackmane, Morgan Raw, Calandis, and Athena. Now, this is not a complete list of all the characters that do different things with crits. There are many. I just chose these 4 because of the way they interact with them, and they're just the examples I wanted to give. Ragnar Blackmane has a 40% base crit chance with 2 legendary items, right? The bolter and the pistol, the crit booster. And then his passive makes it so he deals additional critical strike damage. His active at max rank, once he uses it, gives all the non-ranged melee characters a 36% crit chance in addition to what they have. So he works very well with crits. Morgan Raw, he kind of fell out of favor. However, his passive is if he does not move, he gets additional crit chance and critical damage. Usually you just don't upgrade his passive too much. You just aim for the extra crit chance. Athena despite not having an ability that interacts with crit, can equip 2 crit items and a crit booster. But because of how percentages work, 2 crit items and a crit booster doesn't actually get her to 75% crit chance. However, it does feel like that. Anyways, Athena, she's just a normal character. She doesn't do anything special, but her passive is when other characters are within 2 hexes of her, they get 20% crit chance. So she increases the crits of other characters. Now, these I just want you to keep in mind for the rest of the video. Now, another way to interact with crits is the Rogaldorn Battle Tank. This is a guild raid boss, and he has an ability where if you attack him from the rear, the characters that are in a cone behind the rear of the tank, they get additional crit chance. Normally, this is 30%. However, if you have killed the primes, this goes up to 50%. Now, taking all of this into account, say you're playing guild raids and you want to, be optimal and whatnot. So first, take Ragnar as an example. Ragnar has a base crit chance of 40% with a gun and a booster. Say you're playing Athena with Ragnar because you want to benefit a lot from the crits. Remember, if the first hit doesn't crit, the remaining hits cannot crit. So you say you have Athena, so that goes up to 60%. You're attacking Rogaldorn's weak spot, that gives you 50%. And you want to use Ragnar active ability, which gives you 36% crit chance and additional damage. Ragnar active doesn't exclusively give you crit chance. Now, if you take all of this into account, you actually see we are way over 100% crit chance, which might sound good, right? You want to guarantee the crits because it does suck to have 96% crit chance and then not crit, right? That's one of the worst feelings in the game. However, in a situation like this, in this example, it's important to take into account the different weapons characters have access to. So the examples I've given, like the numbers I give, are with the legendary bolt pistol. So I have mine at max rank on Ragnar's level 11, plus 1,000 crit damage. Essentially, I'm rounding it out. But that's not the only weapon Ragnar can equip. He can also equip a relic combat knife. Shout out to Spit Pit. I can't say names, I'm sorry. He's from the Bloody Rose Discord server. He was actually able to provide me the information with the relic combat knife because I don't have one. Now, the relic combat knife, it only gives a 20% crit chance, which is 15 less than the bolt pistol. However, it gives 800 more crit damage than the pistol. So say you're fighting a Rogaldorn battle tank, you get 15% less crit chance because you're running a knife instead of a, what's it called, a pistol. Sure. So this would be 25%. So 25% plus 20%, that's 45%, plus the weak spot, you're already over 90%. With the active ability, you'll surpass 100% and guarantee it. And you're at a point where, hey, I'm kind of risking not critting for almost double the damage, which is not an insignificant increase, right? Because don't forget, the Rogaldorn moves so much, and each time he moves out of Ragnar's range, Ragnar gets 3 additional hits, and so that's 8,000 damage almost additional. It's just you need to take into account that, how much can I guarantee crits versus am I willing to take the risk to do, double the damage, essentially. So that's why I think when you're playing guild raids, it's important to take into account what bosses have what abilities. That way you can change items, because what most people do is they just say, I got a legendary relic bolt pistol on Ragnar. I'll just keep it on him till the end of time. It'll just stay there. But I guess that's what I do. I'm guilty of this. I've been told that Draupnir says things, but he never does them in his own videos. He's a fraud, fellas. He's a fraud. He's a bad fraud. Everyone says so. Yeah, no, but it does make sense, right? If I had a combat knife, I will be doing more damage. It's more optimal to use it against the boss and whatnot. Now, the biggest takeaway I want to get from this video, it might seem simple. It's just, I'm so brave for saying this. Crits are extra damage, and having a high crit chance is very good. I know, fellas. I'm so brave. I'm so brave. Like, this does sound very, simple, but it's also important to know is say you're fighting Gaskell Traka, well, and you're bringing Athena, sure, Ragnar is going to get a 60% crit chance with 96 with his active. That's really good. But if you after the turn you howl, you'll get 60%. So you have more chance to crit than not crit. But say you're fighting the Rogaldorn battle tank, well, because the boss himself has a mechanic which gives you 50% crit chance, well, then you might as well bring a knife to do more damage, right? It's this situation where crits are very good and characters that might not seem as good. For example, Athena, she is seen as, oh, she only gives a 400 damage buff to allies, which is, less than half of Eldrion and Kelgar. But you got to think of it this way, that she gives more crit chance. And if you crit, well, that 400 becomes way more damage. Say you have a character like Ragnar, and he has a maxed out passive. I don't know why you will do that, but sure. So he has a maxed out passive, and it has a maxed out knife and a maxed out crit item. That critting it gives you so much more damage. And you gotta understand, the higher your crit chance is, the more chance to crit on the initial hit. Because if you don't crit in the initial hit, you're just not gonna crit, which sucks. That's why it's important to have a lot of crit chance. Anyways, that's just my ramblings. Bloody Rose Discord server, very nice place, filled with very nice people. You should join. Very nice place. Just take a shot every time I say very nice. You're gonna die from liver failure. Just saying. If you join, say Draupnir gang, it's a good place. It's a fun place. I like it. Thank you very much for watching the video. I genuinely appreciate it. Special thanks to Diesel Fox and Papa John for entering my refer friend code. And thank you all of you for watching my videos. It means a lot to me. Your refer friend code there. If you want to enter it, great. If you don't, it's fine. No worries. Thank you very much. Have a great day and stay safe.